Welcome back to ZHA training. This is week 3, surfaces and polygons, and this is the SeracBench found outside the offices of ZHA, right near their entrance. It's a really comfy bench. I've had my lunch on it, and it's very, very cool. So we're going to look at the strata of modeling. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get stuck in. So it's actually quite more simpler than it's more complicated than you think. If you start modeling this really religiously, you can spend hours at it. But I'm not going to spend hours on it. I'm going to show you the rough outline of how to do this, and then you can then interpret that into something you can use for your projects later. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an image plane. So what we'll do, create cameras. So not just about creating an image plane, there we go. Free image plane. Let's do that. Bang. So there's our image plane. So the image plane is like a texture card where you can put on our reference, which is the bench. Open that, and you can see here it blocks in the center of the world. You can move it around like where you want to use it, and we're going to scale it up a little bit so we get a bit of scale on it. That should do fine, and I am going to put it on a new layer like this. So that means if I put it on reference by double clicking this little button here, we won't be able to then click on it in the viewport, which is useful because you're going to accidentally move it and then you won't have your reference for the image, or your model. So let's create, shift right click, and let's create our plane. Select the values and let's extend the length of it roughly to what we want, and let's do it roughly to the width. So we can say we want to keep the minimum number of points. So there's a sweep down, straight, and a sweep up, and then straight again. So that's probably enough. The thickness is probably out, so let's give it a little less thickness. But the divisions here, let's give it a couple more. So they say 12 is a good number. Let's move it forward. So if you were to say look at it from the front and start moving the verts around, you could do that and line it up with the object. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I want to show you how to do this in a few minutes rather than an hour or so. I've modeled this a few times now, and I just think it makes bad video if it just takes too long. It just gets really boring. Okay, so let's select an edge, double click it to select the whole edge, and then you select similar to grab all the others, which is a really cool trick. I like that one. The reason we're doing that is because we're going to bevel these. The beveling, go here, and the bevel is reset. So we want the distance to be 0.1. Chamfer is on. Let's go, and that'll just create the two edges. So when we start putting this edge down, which we're going to do now, we're going to be able to create the steps in the strata look here. If I just move this down, you can see what we mean there. You see? And you can start creating the shape very, very quickly using that as a guide. And then just go to the next one, and the next one. There we go. And then you're starting to create this, so we can go a bit deeper on this edge here. Just keep an eye on both, as you can see. Now before going too far, it's probably worth putting some creases in, so let's do that. So we've selected our edges. Let's go and spacebar and modeling and crease sets. Create a new set. Now you can see it's got double edge thickness. If you press 3, you can see it's doing the creasing. If I do page up, it will increase the polygon count. But sometimes you may not want these edges to be so thick. So the way you change that is you select the object, bring up the attribute editor by hitting Control A, and its display borders is the same as what the crease editor seems to hijack the same tool. So if we change this to 1 to make it just slightly thicker, or you can do 0.5, and then they just appear all together. So I'm going to say 1 is probably going to be good enough for us. Do some edge smoothing as well. We can actually at this point hide the grid, and you can see here we're starting to create that initial form here. We can put the wireframe on the object as well so we can see it, and let's just continue going on with edges. Let's select this. There we go. Like I said, I'm not going for an exact match. I'm going for an interpretation, just for really speed and ease. And then let's look at the front. So you can see here this starts to come up. This is sort of the high point, so let's make this our high point one. Generally, the style of modeling at ZHA, from what I've been told, well, from my experiences so far, is you generally want to have the least number of points you can to create the shape you want, and that's a good working method because it makes it much quicker for modeling these forms. You can see here, because I'm moving one edge, but I'm getting this entire curve, and because I'm not using too many edges, I get a really nice kind of. It's easy to create elegant forms, which is I would say was one of the signatures of the ZHA house style. And, you can all appreciate that. Let me do this a bit more. There we go. I just think that's a very quick solution to that. And then you can see here it comes down the other side. I do have a reference of it from the back side. You can see here it comes back and then comes down. So let's do that too. So this one will come over here. That would be, it won't go all the way down. It's not the lowest point, it's the front middle part, and then it goes in again. So it comes out and then comes in. So we'll use this one first. That will be part of our extrusion we'll be doing in a bit. This down. There we go. Start to see what we're going on here. I mean, if you wanted the exact match, I mean, you could do it using this method. It would take a while, because I have tried doing an exact match, because there's lots of nuances here. But what we're trying to do is just show you how to use Maya to create these forms very efficiently and quickly. Because obviously, the more design versions you can get through, the better. So, I think. Great. Alright, so I'd say we got a reasonable impression of the front. I mean, like I said, we don't have the same number of sweeps or steps, but we do have the rough styling, as it were. So let's continue and let's do the other half of this. So what we need to do now is we need to extrude it. So select our faces, or you can just select them all like that by double clicking. And let's extrude. So Control E to extrude. Now, annoyingly, it's going to go the wrong way. That's fine. We'll go lighting double-sided, because we'll need to flip the normals later. You can see it's also rounding off the ends here, but that's okay. So let's just worry about the end thickness for now. Something like that. You can see that's roughly that as well on the end. And what we'll do is we're going to add the creases to the end here. So let's do that. So if we double click this edge, this one, and this one. Do the same on the other end. I'll add that to there. There you go. Then if I press 3, sharpened up the edges a bit, somewhat. We're still not getting these things, so let's do these whole edges, make sure these are all in there. I'm double clicking these, and because they have a flow, it's actually, if you look, it's grabbing the whole thing. Because effectively they're edge loops. Always the way. Pause. Sorry about that, phone call. Anyway, so you select all your edges by double clicking on them. In fact, we want to grab these ones on the end too. It's the only ones we don't want are the ones that go across. And I'm going to add those into our set as well. There we go. So when we press 3 now on the keyboard, you can see now we're going to get a sharpened edge here. And in fact, we'll page up and up again. We select it in object mode. Oh, we'll turn off the edges. You can see there we are starting to create the shape we want. And if we just put a little variation, like we see here, we got a little variation in heights. We could actually use that to create the creases in the middle, just so you could see that. So let's just quickly just drop that in. So if I go edge here and just move that down slightly, maybe make this one go up slightly, and select object mode again, you can see that you can start creating those extra little kind of folds, if you'd like, across the surface. Alright, so go back to 1, 2, 3. So now what we want to do, the reason this is rounding off more, we probably need to create an edge loop here, and just make sure that that's straight, and then that would square that off quite nicely. So we'd need to add more edges than we have. Alright, so yeah, let's start working out the lower half. So you can see here it will come in and it's on there. So at the moment we've got the start of that, which is the front, but actually if you select this edge here, this will come down more because this will form the foot. So do 3, you can start seeing what's going on there. There you go. Now you probably need maybe one more edge in here to create the crease. In fact, I might just do that, but that, like I said, I don't get too stitched, too stuck on the new minutiae, as they say. But I think we could probably simulate the tightening by bringing it back slightly, which isn't too far off what they've got there. And we can come, let's look at it from the front. So we do want it to stand up though. So you can see here, there we go. And then we'd create another edge loop in there. In fact, let's do that. So we'd right click, multi-cut, hold down control. There we go, it inserts an edge loop there. 4. Go back to using the edges because don't want it to shear too much. That would be bad. So be mindful when doing pushing the vertexes along the length of the bench. You can end up with some really horrible shapes. So let's just show you what I mean there. So let's let those come back. There. So then before we did the edge, so we insert the loop. Because I insert the loop, it's all very zigzaggy, so let's not do that. We'll insert the loop before we do the thing. So I'm holding shift to make it snap between different places. So let's do the first one right at the end here. That's going to immediately square off our end. You see that? Tighten that right up, which is good. And then we'd probably want to... But actually, that's doing a pretty good job already. Just need to move this whole edge. Just grab the whole edge all the way along here. So we'll do this one, and then invert it by dragging over that. And we'll just mag the whole thing here. So that way you can start seeing. We can then interpret our own method. So we'll do another edge insert. Holding down control, switch it from that mode to that mode. There. I think we do exactly the same thing again. Just drag that along. There you can see we're starting to create that sort of that shape. All about the going up on itself. So you gotta make sure you do that. There you go. I mean, like I said, I'm not going for an exact thing, and then it's effectively taking those again, bring it down, create the next level of strata. Take the 2 edges, bring one down, 2 again. You get the idea. And then you can see we're starting to create that lower foot on both sides. Now obviously this should probably have a little bit thicker at the bottom than we were demonstrating here, obviously. So in reality, because you can't see through it, I'd imagine that there'd be one of these which are actually just the double thickness. So you'd actually snap, say, this one here, holding down V, snap it to its neighbour. I have to do this in one mode because you want to be able to see the actual polygons. And we'll do V, and then we can snap it to its buddy there. You see then those 2 edges will be the same. If hit 3, we'll effectively get a double. There you go, you can play around with the edge there. And then that would effectively behave a bit better as a foot. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to keep the shape we want for the moment coming forward. Go back underneath, and so spin round again. And we need to do the inside here, so it's exactly the same thing again. Select the 2 likely points. You see we're going to start building this front shape now. Before I do that, I'll come down a bit more. I know where I went a mistake before in my previous effort. This, we're going to make that fat one at the front first. So as you can see here, it's better to start with less edges and then recursively add them in where you need to, but only where absolutely necessary. If you can get away with not adding points, it's generally a good workflow is to get around and not doing it. So let's just add a few more. You can see here they start bunching up, so 1, 2, 1, 2, so it's looking pretty close. And what we would do is these 2 would need to line up to this. Now this would, I know for a fact that this part of the bench here is thick, because obviously if it wasn't thick along here, it'd actually just fall over. But we're not going to be worrying about that at the moment. We'll probably just straighten those. We'll make it sort of, let's make it 4 thick actually. So if I undo those 2, the last 2 moves, so that's fine. Take this one, this one. So the first thing first, I'm going to snap this edge to the other one. Move them all down as a group, as a gang, and then do the same for these 2 here. So that's going to give us our, I'm going to get those edges all exactly lined up in a second. In fact, let's just do it now. So I've just selected them all. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to scale them vertically. Keep scaling them, keep scaling them. And you can see there, they gradually get, there you go. That's an old school Maya trick. Basically what you're doing is you're scaling them into such a small amount that they eventually, Maya's accuracy just says there's 0 or there's no difference between them because the values just get, so you see there it stops moving. That tells you that you can't scale those anymore, and those are definitely lined up, and so that would effectively form the foot, and then would create this bench on the inside here. It's exactly the same thing as what we had on the other section. So we're going to just create there like that, and that is the SeracBench in about 20 minutes. Yeah, it's a beautiful bench. The only other thing I'm going to do actually is one more thing. Is I know it's kind of it tapers, widens and tapers again. So let's do a quick taper and widen. So I'm going to duplicate this because this is effectively our straight one. I'll give this a name. SeracBench. Duplicate that. Oh, duplicate it. Control D. H to hide. Hide. And we're going to lattice this as create. So we could just do it from the top and just scale the vertexes. So another way of doing it would be, this isn't actually a bad way of doing it. So set 3. It's a bit fiddly. and you know, you're not quite sure what you're going to get with that. You know, it depends. If you've added a lot of edges, this will actually work quite well. It's actually a lot of the versions I've seen online, because they haven't actually seen the bench in the flesh, they've kind of left those little details out, which I think is, you know, I guess I'm very, very lucky to have seen the bench in the flesh to know that it does have a taper. There we go. That's my interpretation of the bench design, and yeah, it's in fact, actually, I don't even think those two are level, are they? No, it would actually fall over. There's our grid. So let's try and at least get those to join up. So it's very messy with sword, but at least make them start. So let's say take this edge here. This one here, let's bring this one down a little bit as well, so it lines up. So we'll get these, we'll do the same trick on these two edges, so at least we have a little bit of thickness on this one. Be nice if it stood up. So let's do these two as well. There we go. We'll just bring these down to compensate for the design change. Okay, so then we know we want these 2 points, and we're going to just bring them straight down. Like that. So you could see we'd need actually more divisions along its width to create a better version of this. But I think for our tutorial today, because we need to be able to work fairly fast. If I can do this in 20 minutes, it means I can show you the students, the people doing the tutorial, how to do this in person in about an hour. That's really nice. I'm not sure if I like it. I'm not sure if this is one of my favorite pieces, but it's up there. There we go. The SeracBench. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you very much.